media availability from Homestead-Miami Speedway with some of our representatives from our teams in the Championship 4 for Sunday night. Here to join us for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Championship 4 team representatives, we have Joe Gironi from Furniture Row Racing, Tony Stewart from Stewart-Haas Racing, Coach Joe Gibbs from Joe Gibbs Racing. Gentlemen, I'll open it up with a question for each of you. Just talking about the weekend and your team specifically, how they've prepared to come into the championship. Assuming they're all ready to roll, we expect a great race on Sunday night, but if you would, please just let us know how your teams are prepared. We'll start with Walt, since he was here first, and I'd like to give that as a thank you for being here. We know who's going last.
Well, I hope that's the same result on Sunday. But first of all, I want to congratulate Joe and Tony and Joe on a great season. It's wonderful to be up here with these three men and the teams they represent. But in terms of preparation, we're doing everything we can to be able to at least come somewhat close to these guys on Sunday afternoon. But having said that, clearly, like these other teams, the focus at Team Penske has been to getting to this point. We've had a season, as you all know, of some ups and downs, and I won't belabor the point. But we're here, we're prepared. We think we've made some real gains, particularly over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think you'll find that the Miller Lite Ford and Brad are going to be competitive on Sunday afternoon.
Very good, Coach, if you don't mind. Same question.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we're really excited. I think about the year and the way everything went for us in general with NASCAR. Our TV numbers and stuff look like they're going to be good. I think this is going to be a great race. It's a thrill for me and our race team, from JD, Coy, everybody down on the Gibbs side, to get a chance to go every weekend and compete against the kind of teams that we have in, you know, the best people in the world racing cars. So it's a thrill for us to be here. It's each and every year. It's a tough deal, as everybody here knows. You got those 3 race playoffs, and I think NASCAR and everybody did a great job with the segment racing. I think that really added to our sport. And just on a side note, if you told me 12 years ago I was going to be sitting up here with Tony Stewart, as he kept me in the hauler, NASCAR hauler, every other week for the entire time I was with him. But I guess 30. I guess 30.
You're welcome.
I guess 33 wins and 2 championships is worth it. I can be bought. No, congratulations to Tony, Joe, Walt, everybody, and their race teams. It's a thrill for us to be a part of this, and we're thrilled to be here.
Joe, the 78 team.
Yeah, well, Joe just said it. The series overall with the playoffs and the format has been big. I know out in the market we're in, out in Colorado, a lot of the fans that we meet and the new people that we see, we've got a lot of new NASCAR fans in the last few years. It's we've seen a big swell out there and a build just because of the excitement that's going on right now. And to come into the playoffs right now for us, the guys are just focusing on doing what they've been doing all year, in particular on the mile and a half. It's been pretty good. So it's going to be exciting to see what we can pull off and racing against some good competition here, that's for sure.
I agree. And then Tony.
Yeah, we're excited. It's, you know, obviously it was a big undertaking over the winter to switch to Ford and, you know, to start our own chassis department. So to go out the first race of the year and win the Daytona 500 with Kurt and Ford was a great kickoff. But, you know, obviously the goal for the year is to get here to Homestead and have a car, if not multiple cars in the chase and in the final round here. So excited to have Kevin here, obviously. Feel like 2 weeks ago at Texas, I feel like, you know, that team really really set the tone for what's going to happen this weekend. I feel like, I mean, it's the last mile and a half that we ran before we come here, and feel like everybody at our shop was really excited and encouraged the way that those guys ran there. You know, the last 2 or 3 mile and a halves, we've had a lot of speed. So feel like there's been a big gain at the right time of the year for our team, and gained a lot of momentum. And you know, the last 2 weeks in particular, getting this Homestead car ready, I've been excited to hear all the guys at the shop that work on that 4 car, and they feel like it's one of the best cars that we've had all year, if not the best car that we've had all year. So that's that's exactly what I want to hear as a car owner coming to Homestead, is that we've got the best piece and best bullet in the chamber. So, you know, everybody there is relaxed. I feel like, you know, probably for all four of us, at least on my side, I mean, the heavy lifting's done at this point. It's just a matter of going out and executing the plan this weekend and doing what we know we're capable of doing. But it's, you know, it's a tough season. It's, you know, it's hard for everybody. It's hard for all the car owners, no matter whether they made the championship round or not. It's extremely tough season for everybody involved. And, you know, to be up here, we're honored to be up here. I know Gene's excited. I'm excited. You know, Greg Ziffidelli, our competition director. I mean, everybody through our whole system is really excited to be here, especially, like I said, after all the changes that we went through over the winter. We feel like it's a great validation for why we made the change. So excited to try to bring a championship home for Ford this weekend.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. If you would, please state your name and affiliation, and also who your question is directed towards. Let's start with Bob and Al over there, and then come to Kenny.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. Joe, how much involvement is Barney having this weekend as far as talking to you?
Well, we'll see. It's pretty early right now. Really, for the last couple weekends, it's I am linked together with text messages with him. He's certainly paying attention to everything that's going on. But I mean, that's a tough operation. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to get where he can move around and actually get out to the track.
Let's go to Al, and then over here to Kenny.
Yeah, another question for Joe. Al Pearson, Auto Week. Can you briefly explain to us, late in the 2013 season, you knew you'd be needing a new driver. What went into the process of getting Martin? What sort of walk us through how he was the guy to replace Kurt Busch?
Well, it was somewhat fate. If you go back and look at what took place with our team and then with what he went through, it kind of brought us together without a whole lot of involvement from either one of us. I remember when we first started talking about it, it was evident that we both needed something from each other. And the more we spent time together, the more it felt like, hey, this should happen anyway, whether it was meant to be or not. And we're obviously grateful we were able to get it put together.
Let's go over here to Kenny, and then Dustin.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. One quick one for Joe to follow up on Barney, and then one for Tony. Will he watch the race this weekend? Where will he be when he watches it from? Is his doctor saying you don't need to put yourself under that kind of stress?
Yeah, that's a good question. He'll be at home. He's I don't think he's left his house yet. I'm sure he'll be in front of his TV. I can't tell you what he's going to do. I know I am connected to him, text messaging the whole race long. So I'm giving him what is going on top of the box that he's not getting on the radio, and keeping him engaged. So I don't know that how much stress he'll actually go through, to be honest about it. He's a pretty calm guy. Anybody that knows him, you know that about him. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
For Tony, for so many years you've been on the other. You've not been up here as an owner. For the most part, you've been up here as a competitor. What's this year been like for you? Has it been a big relief? Weight off your shoulders? Have you missed it?
No, I haven't missed it. I mean, like I've said all along, I feel like I've been able to have the best of both worlds. I get to go race the dirt cars that I love racing, and I still get to be here and participate as an owner on the weekends. And it's kind of made me laugh at what Joe said earlier. It's because of Joe that I even tried to do something like this and be a car owner. I mean, I've always respected Joe, and we've got a great relationship, obviously, as you can tell. And you know, I remember the day that he was ready to strangle me the day that I walked in there and said that I was going to be leaving Joe Gibbs Racing. But the moment that he stopped trying to strangle me was when I said, I have the opportunity to be like you. And that's when he let go of my neck. It was kind of hard to argue with that when you say you're trying to be like one of your heroes. So go back to your original part again. You know, I've enjoyed this year. I mean, it's obviously it's somebody. There was one person over the course of the winter that told me this was going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I looked at him when they told me that last fall, and I said, "You're crazy." I said, "I already feel the weight off my shoulders." And but as the years gone on, they're right. It has been a lot bigger challenge than I thought it would be. I've been busier than I've been in the last 5 years, but it's it's been nice to be busy doing stuff that I want to do versus stuff that I have to do. There's a big difference there. But, you know, I love coming to the track. I love seeing all the people. I get to spend time with Joe and these guys walking up and down pit road and in the garage area, and that's stuff that during a regular weekend as a driver, you just don't have that luxury, you know, without people chasing you around everywhere. So it's nice to be here. I'm enjoying my role. I enjoy working with our drivers and the crew chiefs and seeing all the crew guys during the weekend and just kind of keeping tabs of what's going on and going from car to car and trying to find the common denominator of things that we can work on. So, you know, the longer the years went, the more I find stuff to keep me occupied and busy and more productive, and you know, I feel like having a good time doing it.
Let's go to Dustin, then Greg, and then back up here to Lee.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports, for the entire panel. Brian France said last month that NASCAR is working with teams to control expenses in a way that hasn't been done in motorsports before. My question is, what kind of adjustments can teams make or can be put on the table? And with that in mind, there's been discussion about the TV money and how teams get 25% and whether that's something that should be adjusted to provide more for you guys. How do each of you look at that?
Coach, you want to start if you don't mind?
Yeah, I think we've all, we have the RTA. It's been a big deal for us, and I think we all discuss different paths forward with the sport. I think that's what everybody's interested in. I think just the fact that the changes we've made, NASCAR's done an unbelievable job of stepping up and making some big decisions about the playoff and segment racing and all the things that they've done. And I think we're also focused on what's best for the sport going forward. We know it's expensive, and so I think everybody kind of has had open discussions about, you know, what's the best thing that we can do to try and reduce the money to make it, you'd like to have other people coming into the sport. And so I think our groups really, I think it's been the best that where we've actually been together and having discussions and trying to point ourselves forward to what's best for the sport, both financially and from a race standpoint. So I'm excited about that. And I think, you know, the other guys can speak, but I think we're kind of all trying to do, we don't agree always, but I think we are moving forward in a number of areas, and one of them is the financial part of it and what it takes to run these cars.
I think, first of all, in the first part of your question on the revenue side, I think we'll all agree as business people that any time there can be a potential revenue let's call it the business management side or the expense side, I think there's been a recognition on the part of NASCAR, and I really want to commend them for working with the owners, particularly over these last 24 months, understanding, understanding our issues as business people as well as being competitors, and being able to make sure that we're good financial stewards in our own companies while still being able to provide a great competitive product for NASCAR's fans. I think NASCAR has really done a great job, I feel, in working with us to recognize those kinds of things. They recognize, like everything else, that the cost of doing business goes up. You know, there's the old maxim in our business, you know, the speed costs money, how fast do you want to go? I think that's fine to a certain point. But then we have to be responsible, as I said earlier, responsible stewards, and NASCAR is working with us toward that end.
Let's go ahead to Greg, and then we'll come up here to Lee.
Mr. Stewart, you've been on both ends of this. You've been a driver who's won a championship and set up on that stage, and you've been an owner and set up on that stage, and there's a possibility you're going to be doing that again Sunday night. What's more satisfying, being the owner champion or the driver champion? Or is it just different?
It's the same. I mean, it's, you know, you're not going to be a driver all your life. So when you're not a driver, I mean, I think something that people don't know about me, I've won a lot more championships. I've won over 20 championships as a car owner, and not necessarily just in NASCAR. So it's not something we're new to. I mean, it's something I take a lot of pride in. You know, I feel like we've had NASCAR, but everywhere. So, you know, they're evenly as tough. I mean, it's just as tense, probably more tense when you're not in the car, to be honest, than you are when you are in the car. At least when you're in the race car, you're in control of what's going on. when you're not in the race car, it's this will be the first time that I haven't been in the race car when we ran for a championship. So I know the races, it's a little more stressful when you know all the scenarios and you know everything that's going on versus being in the car and you only know a piece of the information of the big picture. So it'll be probably tougher to watch it on Sunday, you know, from a pit box versus being in the car. But at the end of the day, if you're up there hoisting a trophy, no matter whether you're the winning owner or the winning driver, it's the feeling is still the same, but for different reasons.
Let's go to Lee, and then we'll round it out with Caleb.
Lee Spencer, motorsport.com. Well, Roger told Brad at Texas, let's just go out and have a good blue-collar day.
Right.
He probably had a blue-collar day all the way to the championship 4. There really wasn't anything sexy about the drive. He hasn't won races, led laps, that kind of thing. But Team Penske isn't used to coming in as the underdog. What do you tell Brad? How do you get that team pumped up going into Sunday?
Well, first of all, I don't view our position as underdog. The fact that we are here does not make any of us underdogs. I think the playing field is pretty level. I was talking to one of your colleagues just last night, and I made the comment about how I've seen Brad mature as a driver and as a person, and being able to handle the vagaries of this sport, if you will, the ups and downs, and he certainly had his share this year with a sense of equanimity. He's going to do his job on Sunday, and we as a team then are obliged to give him a piece to be able to do that job effectively. But I think we've had a pretty good year, and I just wanted to mention just a minor point. This has been the winningest season in the history of Team Penske. We won 31 races this year, an IndyCar championship. We're in the hunt for an owner's championship in the Xfinity Series tomorrow. Clearly we're in the hunt for the Monster Energy Cup. And then in Australia, we've had a great season, won 11 races, and we're 20 points out of the championship there with two races to go. And I think, and the reason I say that, Lee, is because it's really developed a sense of confidence and enthusiasm, whether it's happening at Bathurst, or whether it's happening at Texas, or whether it's happened at Sonoma. And we've all fed on it. We've all fed on that success this year, and I think Brad has been part of that. So, but I will say this: I have seen him probably more focused in this second half of the season than in the 7 or 8 years he's been with us on this very weekend.
Thank you. And for Joe, can you tell us something about Martin Truex Jr. that we don't know, because he's so subdued and keeps to himself a lot? Is there something about him particularly that, you know, just resonates with you?
Well, because you identified how he is, I feel the same as you. He's difficult. He's very laid back and easygoing. I saw an interview with him the other day about his approach into this weekend that it was really profound how relaxed he was and how he said he feels like he's already a winner. And he's just in a really good place in his life right now, which I think brings a calmness that you'll see out there during the race that we can benefit from. And, you know, I think everybody knows Martin enough it's hard to bring something new other than that. But we may see something new Sunday afternoon. That's what I'm looking for.
Caleb?
Whistler kicking the tires.net. We've seen market corrections kind of with drivers being kind of pushed out of rides because of cost. How, as owners, do you see the sport can help push itself to more relevance in the United States as we kind of see market correction and useless controversy kind of overtake the racing in the sport?
Go ahead, have fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony.
Sounds like a wall.
When you talk about the sport, are you speaking specifically of the NASCAR sport or motorsport in general?
NASCAR in general being kind of overcome like controversy that's not racing. The race is not being talked about because of controversy.
Well, first of all, I think part of that is cultural in the world we live in today. But secondly, again, I think working with the teams, personal opinion, I think NASCAR has done a great job again, reaching out to those new constituencies that perhaps have not had an interest. I don't think there's any question that perhaps younger people today don't have the affinity for cars. We beat that subject to death. But I think there's a real effort, not only the part of NASCAR, but on the teams and our sponsors to help build new fans. Having said that, I think the playoffs this year and the stage racing have really created a level of excitement like I haven't seen before, just to echo what Coach just said a couple of minutes ago. it's been terrific, and I think it's attracting eyeballs.
I would say too, from I think our sponsorship standpoint, we're so excited about it. I'm bullish on the fact, I think going forward, we got our best years in front of us. We're currently have 4 big new sponsors. They're coming on board. We'll announce 2 more coming up here pretty quick. And I think in corporate America, we've Procter & Gamble is a good example. That was all millennials. They came down, took a look at it, went to do 1 race at Darlington, came back, and they're doing more. I'm excited about our sport and what we can offer to sponsors. If you think about it, what sport's got 38 weekends where we can deliver roughly 100,000 average live attendance, 4.5 million on TV and 5 million on social media? What other sport can do that? And it's a marketing platform, but the other thing that you've got is the B2B opportunities are unbelievable in this sport. And so for all those reasons, you know, I'm just pointing out from going forward with our sponsors, for us on this car, Mars, Interstate, NAS, and Stanley are all on there, big companies. And it's exciting for us to have a platform where we get a chance to race in front of hundreds of thousands and millions of people on Sunday. So it's a big deal for us. I'm excited about where we're going.
If I could just, you reminded me, Joe, I think you're all aware that we've announced 12 sponsor renewals this year. No one's walked away. They've extended. So I think that's another good sign, not only for Team Penske, but for the sport, that these companies, these big companies, are willing to put their resources in place for years to come.
Gentlemen, we appreciate the time. I know a couple of you have a hard stop for something you need to be at noon. We wish you the best of luck Sunday evening, and we look forward to seeing one of you as a championship member of your team here on Sunday evening.
Yeah, I didn't mention Toyota either as our sponsor, and make sure I get that in there. I'd hate to get that thing pulled.
Yeah, you're getting old. It's easy for you to forget things.
Thank you all.
I knew you could encourage me some, Tony. You do the best you can.
Thanks, Tony.